really want to give a really big push and try and challenge for that top 4 and even beyond, hopefully. The thing that's underestimated sometimes is actually reading the game. You can't just be one-dimensional now. You need to be of a certain sort of physical state to be competing at the top level, and it's kind of quite excited for 2021 to see just how much more improvements that I can get out of my mind and my body. Definitely been an up and down year in kind of all respects, really. I think just before the tour was stopped, I was really finding my stride and starting to play some good squash, and I think I used the time well when we were off to build work on some of my kind of physical weaknesses and build that base. But then definitely when squash was allowed again and come back, I got a bit squash happy and then neglected that bit a little bit. So I think, but actually in the last sort of couple of months, I've really found that balance, I think, and I'm really happy with the way I'm hitting the ball and moving at the moment, which for me are kind of the main points to my game. So although we'll look back on 2020 as a bit of a strange year for sure, I think I'll also look back at it as a really positive one from my squash career. The standard of women's squash definitely, I think, really high, and has been going up and up for the last few years. And although we have seen Raneem retire and Noor leave for a sort of hiatus, I think the other players are also going to see that as an opportunity to come in and challenge for those top ranks. So yeah, I really want to give a really big push and try and challenge for that top 4 and even beyond, hopefully. There's quite a few things that we kind of we've recognised in my game, and also in a kind of physicality that we can hopefully address and can make for some positive changes. And I think if I can nail a few of those and get those spot on, then I think I can consistently keep challenging and keep making semi-finals and finals, and hopefully really challenging for the titles. And I think with that then will hopefully come a rise in the rankings. But I think it's actually my kind of efficiency of movement and the actual patterns and footwork and things like that. And also I think that the thing that's underestimated sometimes is actually reading the game and reading what position to be in when you've played a certain shot and following up. So maybe like combinations of shots and so forth. But for me, there's I'm never going to be the quickest player, but I do have like plenty of attributes that work in my favour. Like I'm quite a sort of powerful athlete, and when I use that to my advantage, that's definitely when I'm playing my best. And I do have like quite a decent wingspan as well, which helps me get quite a few balls back. And I've tried to work on being able to control the ball in those positions and work on my defensive game as well as my attacking game. I think you hear in the commentary a lot we know I've got an attacking game and sometimes it's just questioned whether my defensive game's up to scratch. And I think you can't just be one-dimensional now, so I've absolutely been working on that side as well. And it's a balance between, say, like protecting some movements, but also actually looking to create opportunities to attack and to play the sort of brand of squash that I want to play as well. So that's we're trying to find all the little bits of things like that. But a lot of it is, for me, has been about trying to work on the efficiency of movement and stability in those sort of longer lunge positions. I think women's squash is exciting. I think there's always a bit of an evolution going on. I think definitely with Hania sort of coming into the mix in the later stages of a lot of the tournaments this year, she brings a kind of different physicality to the game, and just seems to kind of get quicker and quicker as the game goes on, and manages to hold up physically really well. So I think that's definitely worked sort of for her, and whilst that's never going to be my game, I think I've worked hard and appreciate how I need to basically be the best sort of physical shape I can be to compete with that when I need to, and then use my own game when I need to as well. And finding that balance is kind of key. And I think we'll see there's so many different styles and different physicalities in the women's game, but there's definitely a few players that are really push those boundaries of like overall physicality. The ones that spring to mind, like I said, with Hania, and then Camille also, and then like Naylor and Hania's match the other day was just incredible from a physicality perspective. So I think that's a bit of a marker set down for that really. And it, whilst maybe I'm not aiming to play exactly like that, I think it's definitely a kind of, not a warning, but you need to be of a certain sort of physical state to be competing at the top level of women's squash at the moment, and that's really evident. The word that really springs to mind is the intensity, and the power hitting combined with the speed of movement. And I don't think we've necessarily seen that in women's squash, apart from in the last few years. Yeah, I've had a couple of months of really, really hard work, and that's gone really well. And I'm in constant communication with my strength conditioning coach, and we're always trying to tweak what I'm doing and find out what's working, what can we do a bit better, and everything like that. And I think also just been looking at the sort of mental aspects, and also the kind of nutrition side as well, to really try and maximize my sort of training improvements, but also my actual performance at the tournaments as well. And I'm really pleased with how that's going, and it's kind of quite excited for 2021 to see just how much more improvements that I can get out of my mind and my body.